Welcome all who enter here. Come and listen as I have a story or two for you. Tonight we return to the land of Shapeshifters. The first tale is the origin of werewolves. The next is a tale of a hunter who delivers justice for her kin. I do hope you enjoy them. If you do enjoy my content, then do me a small favor. Like, subscribe, comment, and click the bell. It is a small thing to ask of you, but it will help the channel grow. Thank you. Now let us begin. Wolfwere, or werewolf. Monstrous, vicious, cannibalistic, and always traveling in packs. Werewolves have always been a nightmare on full moon nights. To fight the urge to consume human flesh. Some do, others do not. Whether it is a gigantic wolf, a deadly hybrid, few survive to speak of the tale. Those that do live are often cursed. But how did this creature begin? Is it demonic or cursed? The tale tonight will explain the origin of these infamous moonlight predators. So listen for the wolf howl and pray that it is only a wolf. When knights roam the land, dragons terrified villages, and wizards study books of magic. Wolves were large and deadly predators. The dire wolf itself was dreaded by many, if they still roamed the earth. However, dire or gray, there were still some very large specimens found in the woods at this time. One such wolf was a gigantic creature with dark gray fur. He was more intelligent than many of his kind. He would avoid hunters, poison, and was a nomad. Exiled from his pack and forced into a life of solitude. As a wolf grew older, he lost his desire to be alone. Perhaps that will explain why he allowed a sorcerer to capture him. Can a wolf wish to die? Would loneliness do that? Much mental damage to a pack animal. Perhaps we will never know that answer. The man was amazed at the size of the creature. But this wolf was old. He was not set or violent. He looked to the world at peace, Cautious at first, the mage sensed that the wolf was not a danger. He would call him Old Gray and decide to befriend the beast. The wolf knew he was not in danger and really did not care to go on living a lonely life. So a friendship was made between the two. They were inseparable, as Old Gray would often hunt and share his kills. The sorcerer offered his home and would sit by the fire, speaking to the canine as if he was a long-lost buddy. Gray could even understand some of the words, but mostly the body language. They would often fall asleep, leaning upon the other. The sorcerer found a spell that would change Gray into a mortal. The wolf laid still as the incantation began. Words were spoken. Incense and candles were lit as a potion was poured upon the old wolf's head. But nothing seemed to happen. So the two spoke. Well, the mage spoke to Gray. And they fell asleep like they always do together. But during the night, a miracle did happen. For the next morning, a young man with black hair, a lean, muscular build, and very tall, was standing in the sorcerer's home. Surprised, the mage asked him if he was Old Gray, and the stranger offered his hand as a dog would hand you his paw. So it seemed the spell worked, for when the wolf went to sleep, a man woke from the slumber. The mage began excitedly teaching the man words and how to behave as a human. But at night, the wolf would return, as the change was not permanent. Therefore, the first wolfwere was created, a wolf that could become a man. The two became brothers, spending the day talking and learning from each other. But at night, the wolf would hunt, for now it was a younger creature with renewed vitality. Hermits were not to be trusted, especially a sorcerer living alone in the forest. The villagers found out a mage had moved into a cabin out there, and they were not happy. Magic was often considered dark, and at the best, not to be trusted. filled with nonsense and tales of horror. The villagers decide to drive the old man away and destroy the home that he lived in the forest. Now Old Gray, while out hunting, had found a few stray wolves and decided to make his own pack. But his wolves would agree and be forbidden to not enter the home or attack the mage. A quick bite was all that was needed to ensure they would follow his command. Although at the time, the wolves did not know what the bite was for. But through that bite, the curse was passed. For at night, when no animals or food could be found, the wolves were taught what to do as a man. The villagers had had enough, as they formed a mob to bring the old mage out of his home, armed with pitchforks, swords, knives, and torches. They went to burn the house to the ground. As the man was caught unaware, he screamed into the night, and a howl answered him. Then more howls answered that one, and black wolves appeared from the forest, making a circle around the people so they could not leave. The largest wolf leaped into the fire. As the inferno raised high, threatening to burn the leaves on the trees. It was then that the other wolves attacked the villagers. Farmers with pitchforks and knives were not a challenge to a pack of wolves. Perhaps the most feared predators at this time. A bite from Gray changed the man into a wolf. But the mage's flesh was too damaged to heal from. Gray was damaged and burned as well, trying to save his friend. Dying, he lay down beside his friend, leaning upon each other, just like they did all the nights before. and the two passed from this life together as brothers. Some villagers did survive, but they did not walk away without their own problems. You see, just as the bite from Gray transformed the wolf into a wolfwere, the bite from a wolfwere would change the man into a werewolf. As the night came, the survivors doubled over in pain. Bones broke to reform into different designs. Fur exploded through the skin with such force as blood dripped to the ground. Teeth stretched, sharpened, and realigned in the mouth as the hunger for human flesh consumed the now cursed creatures. These creatures were called werewolves, and they fled into the forest to survive. So the werewolf gained his taste for human flesh. As a wolfwere would avoid humanity at all cost. Wolfweres were stronger and often preferred their own company or the company of wolves. Although the werewolf was more intelligent, they were also more savage and would often hide among humanity, as that was the source of their food. The two would avoid each other, as a hatred was formed at their beginning. So Tales of the Werewolf came to be as a wolfwere simply faded into the past. Still around, but so well hidden that they were thought to only be from the imagination of man. Beware of beauty. The tavern was full as a storm raged outside. Even the toughest and most resilient of explorers and trappers would not brave it. The wind howled like a horrid snow beast, ready to freeze the very blood in your veins. The pub was called the Wicked Storm, located near a vast forest in Russia. Trappers, hunters, explorers, hikers can be found occupying the pub. As barmaids and waitresses took orders, one woman sat alone in the corner. The local men would leave her alone, as she was tall and could be intimidating. Her black hair covered a beautiful face, as her body was that of a runner, lean with a slight muscular build. Her height was close to 6 foot tall. She did not wear any makeup, but why would she? She stared at her drink, then turned to gaze about the room. Green eyes scanning all the men, stopping to focus on a pair. A man was trying to sell someone a bone, an animal bone. Usually, she never paid attention to what men discussed or how they interacted with each other. As a hunter, she preferred the company of nature to most people. Many a man in the bar found out the hard way that she was not interested in them. A quick strike with those beautiful and sharp fingernails would deter most men from ever speaking to her again. Despite her looks, most of the local men and women left her alone. She called a waitress for another drink and walked over to the bar. An empty seat was closer to the men speaking and easier to hear from. One of them noticed the woman and quickly hid the body part. He changed the subject, explaining how beautiful she looked, and offered her a drink. She flashed a smile, accepting the beverage. Then she told him she knew where he could get all the animal parts, bones and skins he desired. But there was a price to pay. He nodded and asked how much. She told him to meet her in the pub after the storm, and she would show him and his friend where she spoke of. He asked for her name, and she said it was Kira. Then she left. Not wanting her to leave, he asked her more questions, but she was gone in the crowd, disappearing as quickly as she showed herself up in the company of men. The following day, the storm had passed, and Kira met the man in the same hub. She spoke very little as she led him into the forest. He reached for her shoulder, but she easily evaded his hand. Then she quickened her pace, and he had to quicken his just to keep up. She asked him if he wanted tiger parts and he agreed, inquiring what the price would be. She ignored him as he walked farther into the wood. He reached out and grabbed her, spinning her to him, face to face. Then he moved in for a kiss, and she struck him directly in the face. He fell backward, and she ran away. With his mind on other things besides animal parts, he chased her into the woods. Her tracks were clear in the fallen snow, and he called out her name once again. He followed the track as he lost sight of her. She spoke as her voice echoed through the woods, explaining that she knew he got those bones illegally, for he was a poacher, and after today would never take the life of another animal. With a sharp knife in his hand and a busted lip, he promised pleasure and pain when he found her. The tracks led to a pile of clothes, her clothes. He took the underwear to his nose and began to imagine naughty things in his mind. He called for her, but only his echo answered him. With knife in hand, he no longer found any footprints. That's when he began to look around for clues, as a heavy weight fell onto him, forcing him onto the ground. Sharp fangs pierced his neck, and he was lifted high into the air. A swift movement, and his neck snapped as those fangs held him there. He never saw Akira again, nor did he find out the truth about her. Her massive paws lifted him onto her shoulder as she gathered clothes and walked away, leaving large paw prints in the snow behind. The man was carried away. As he was light in weight to her. Back in her den, she laid his body next to a fire. Then she walked over to the mirror she kept. When going into towns, she had to make sure that her appearance was nice to look at, for it was easier her to blend into human society when she wore the face of a woman. She did not care for them or their struggles, instead preferring the company of the quiet woods. But when she overheard the poacher trying to sell tiger bones, well, that struck a little too close to home. She gazed into the mirror, her green eyes staring back. Her black and orange fur had blood in it, as she carried the sack of meat to her home. Not a tiger or a woman stared into the mirror, but a combination of both. Many tales have been told of werewolves, werebears, and other shapeshifters, but her kind kept to the shadows, always ready to hunt in silence and to kill whatever or whoever crossed their path. That way the legend of the weretigers remained just a legend.